Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to the show on a podcast directory or you're listening on iTunes, then please come to blogtalkradio.com/CoachDeb, and you will see an archive of shows going back to 2008. So please make sure you stop by, check out the different shows, and you can download them and share them on social media. You can listen online. So there's a lot of ways that you can listen in. Also, the show is on Podomatic, which is another podcasting directory that you can download the app and you can listen there. And also on iTunes. So what you can do is search for Women Entrepreneurs Radio on iTunes, and you could subscribe and listen to that on any iPhones, any devices like that, or also there are apps that you can listen if you are on Android. So check out Women Entrepreneur Secrets.blogspot.com. You can click on the menu item, radio, and you'll see links there for different ways you can listen to the show and also find out more about the show and more about being a guest if you are interested in doing so. Also, you can come to my website, which is DeborahABailey.com, and you can find out more about me, more about my books, and also more links to the show, different other couple other blogs that I have. So that's a place you can find out more about me as well. And for the blog that I mentioned before, the Secrets of Success blog, we also post announcements of interested women entrepreneurs and articles. So if you have something of interest, you will see information there how to click on the Contact Us button and send your query if you would like to be included in the blog, or if you're interested in advertising or promotion opportunities. So that's a good place for you to check out. So today I'm going to get started with my guest, and Marty Worrell provides leadership, communication, and courage building programs for organizations including NASA, UN Foundation, AOL, and Accenture. As a columnist for Forbes and Huffington Post, her advice is featured throughout leading global media. Margie is also a mother of 4 children. She's the author of Brave, 50 Everyday Acts of Courage to Thrive in Work, Love, and Life. So welcome, Margie. I'm really glad to have you here.
It's great to be on the program with you.
So, if you could just fill us in before we, chat a bit about your book, if you could just share, what your entrepreneurial journey was that brought you here right now and brought you to author this book.
Yeah, look, I guess I started my career actually in the corporate world, working in marketing, and it was in my late 20s I decided that, one, I didn't find it particularly personally rewarding, and two, I started my family and really felt that I wanted to not only pursue a new career but have more control over my time and my scheduling and just the flexibility that having your own business, as much as it can be all-consuming, can also provide. So I guess that's what really led me down the track that I'm on today.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people, it seems, have come out of the corporate world and have decided to go out on their own. And, I think because of that, they bring a lot of knowledge of the things that have gone on there and maybe also can help to change some of the things that probably aren't so wonderful that go on, I think, in different layers of management. And, what I'd like to know is what brought you, to decide that you wanted to write this book at this time?
Yeah, well, look, actually, my last book, this on Brave, is actually my third book. It's the first. Well, I've co-authored 2 others with Stephen Covey and Jack Canfield and a few others, but this is my third book that I've actually had published myself. And I guess Brave, like my previous 2, you'll be able to tell that what I'm passionate about by their titles. My first one was called Find Your Courage. The second one was called Stop Playing Safe, and this one's called Brave. So. Obviously, what really I feel most called to do is to help people see where fear, even unconscious fears, are piloting their lives, are keeping them from taking the actions they want to take, and really challenging people to think bigger about what's possible for them and to speak up more bravely in their conversations and to back themselves more. So that's what inspired this book. And I guess the difference with this book from the others I've written and from so many other wonderful books that are out there that have a similar core message is I'm with 4 kids and my own business. I'm really busy, and I know I often just look for something I can pick up for just a quick dose of inspiration. And so I said to my publisher Wiley, I said what I'd love to write is a book that people could just pick up and read on the run. And so it's got 50 everyday acts of courage, 50 ways we can be courageous in our everyday lives. And that's what really also prompted even the format of this book, just the need that so many people have for something they can very easily and quickly digest to keep them moving, being purposeful.
Yes, I really did. I noticed that the format of the book made it very easy to pick out a lot of ideas on the run, because as you said, a lot of times people don't really have the time, and you want to make the time, but you don't always have it just to sit down and read for a while. So just looking through it, and there's different parts that the way it's formatted, that idea jumps right out at you off the page, so you can really get a lot out of it in a short amount of time, which I guess is how our world is working these days. So I think that was a very good idea of yours to have them set up this way. But, we you were talking about the conversations, and I saw that you had 7 keys to courageous conversations. I'm just, curious if you can elaborate a bit more on, how you came up with those and what that's about.
Well, look, in our everyday lives, obviously the relationships we have with others have the biggest impact on our happiness, but they also on our success as entrepreneurs and in our working lives, our ability to address issues, our ability to get other people engaged and enrolled in the things that we want to accomplish, to hold people accountable, to give critical feedback, to ask for what we want, sometimes to promote ourselves. So in so many different ways that we need to be courageous in the conversations that we have with others. And yet, as I'm sure you've experienced yourself, often the most important conversations are also the most difficult ones to have. They're the ones that really take us outside our comfort zone. They're the ones that often make us feel awkward and vulnerable. We know sometimes people don't like what we have to say, whether it's turning down an invitation to something, or it's giving someone critical feedback, or it's saying, letting someone know that we don't want to stay in business with them. Those sort of conversations are really difficult to have, and so often we avoid them, or we don't have them in a way that ultimately gives the best outcome for us and others. So having brave conversations, my book was divided into 5 sections, and the second section is Speak Bravely, how to have courageous conversations about things that matter.
And I think that's very, very true, because a lot of times the conversations aren't had, or they're not had in a way that they should be. And for instance, you have expressed your opinion as just that. And I find a lot of times people don't really do that. They express it as, well, this is the way it is, as opposed to this is my opinion. And, it seems that that's a lot of times automatically an invitation for people to get into an argument.
Yeah.
Because it's challenging. It seems to me it's challenging the other person to say, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and I do.
Well, look, and I think that you're absolutely right. I think whenever we put forward our opinion as though it's the truth, as though it's the only right opinion, we are guaranteed to get people offside. And I wrote about this in the book, and I said, if you want to put forward your opinion, and you know that it's very likely others won't agree with it, and in fact it could ruffle feathers, it could rock the boat, you have to be really careful that you don't put it across in a way that makes others wrong, or that devalidates their own perspective, because how we see things is always valid for us, even if we think other people are crazy in how they see things. So not making other people wrong, listening first to try and really understand what's going on for others, and putting our opinion across in such a way that we can get people to buy in, and we can ultimately come out with maybe better outcomes for everyone, versus just saying, hey, this is the way it is, and I'm right and you're wrong, even though ultimately sometimes we have to make a call and say, we are going to go this direction.
Exactly. That's true. That's an excellent point. And it kind of reminds me as a fiction author. Um, I was working on a story, and the villain actually thinks that he's right, and he feels he's the hero of the story, and that's how I wrote his part. And I said that's really the thing, that everyone thinks or feels that they are the hero of their story. So, of course, your perception, that's how you are experiencing it. And I think a lot of people don't get that. They don't have that understanding that it's not just what you're seeing. It's how that person's perceiving it, because they want to be right. And, and that leads me to another point that I saw, that you were saying people are hardwired to defend their view of reality. So how do you mean that?
Yeah. Well, look, and that's actually in the opening section of the book, I kind of get into the importance of being willing to interrogate your reality, and we all have to do that, and myself included, because we all have a view of the world, a view of ourselves, a view of how things are. And the truth is that we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And so often we can get caught up in ways of seeing things that can limit us. And they can drive us to make choices that don't always serve our own happiness. And they can ultimately really sabotage us in ways that we're not even present to at the time. So, as a coach, I'm constantly, I feel like my part of what it is to be a coach is to be constantly challenging people on how they see themselves and how they see what's possible. And even we pick it up in the language people use. Oh, I could never do that. Oh, it's impossible. Or, that person will never, that we cast ourselves as victims, we cast others as villains. We let our fear, we really amplify it in our own mind's eye. Oh my gosh, if that happened, I would just die. It's like, no, you wouldn't die. You would figure it out. And so we have to constantly be challenged in, one, the way we see reality, and two, just the language that we use, because our language can so profoundly shape our view of reality, but also become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's true. A lot of people say things to themselves without realizing, and I think we all do that or have done that, where you're beating up on yourself about something and using the worst language about yourself. And
absolutely.
When you do that endlessly and you don't even realize you're doing it, then
and I think that kind of gets to so much of the heart of the work that I do, whether it's as a coach, whether it's as an author. I do a lot in the media and a lot of keynote speaking these days, and I think, and probably Deb, honestly, a little bit maybe more so that women struggle with even more so than men, is this deep sense of inadequacy and we beat up on ourselves and we hard on ourselves and we feel like we're not enough, we're not smart enough, we're not successful enough, we're not productive enough, we're not patient enough, we're not, you can fill in that blank. I could sit here all day if I wanted. And I'm sure your listeners right now are thinking, I often don't feel I'm enough of something. And I think at our core, so many people struggle with that, but we have to be and I think that's where it really is an act of courage to get present to our fear of not being enough and to embrace that fear, because it's only when we do, I think, that we can ultimately move forward and dare to lay it on the line and go, I'm going to try to do this. Even though I'm afraid, I don't have what it takes to succeed. And I think at the core of it, that's what being courageous is about. It's about stepping up to the plate in our own lives. It's about having those conversations. It's about pursuing those dreams and ambitions. It's about making changes, even though there's a part of us that is terrified that we don't have what it takes to be successful at doing that we may fall short, that people may criticize it, that we may lose faith, but just having that courage to do it anyway.
That's very true. That's very true, because once you put yourself out there, and that's again, something I find with other authors and people in general, the fear of putting yourself out there because you will be criticized. Everyone's not going to like what you're doing, and a lot of people just kind of stop they don't submit their work. They don't really put it out there. They don't promote it in any way out of fear, but yet that's the work they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's that's something I've really had to practice myself, and I do often. And actually, I've got it in the book. It's like, don't wait till you know everything before you do something, and don't wait till you are perfect at something or masterful before you just start out, because I can assure you, I've never done, I'm not a trained writer. I don't even think I had a particularly great education in English and literature, and I know that if I'd waited till I had a Shakespearean command of the English language, or even a fraction of a Shakespearean command of the English language to write a book, I would never have written one. And my kids will be the first to say, oh yeah, my mum's grammar is terrible. And I think that it's really about being willing to do things even though we mightn't do them as well as we'd like to do them.
Yes.
And I think that need, that fear that we have that, I'm not doing it good enough, it won't be done brilliantly. And while I do think we should strive for excellence, I also think we have to be so careful not to set the bar so exceedingly high that we can't get over it. And I see so many people too many people I've met over the years, trapped in this, I guess on a merry-go-round, perfectionist merry-go-round, like, I just got to be better, and it's never good enough, And, one of my mantras is done is better than perfect. And I can pick up any of my books and I can open them up and I can tell you, I can find ways to make them better. But there comes a point where you go, you know what, I have to just put this out into the world, or I've got to give this speech, and I don't have, I have other things I have on besides perfecting this one thing. And so I think we have to continually find that balance between getting stuff done, doing it really well, but also just getting it done and getting it out there. And I can assure you, for anyone who's listening, just getting yourself out there and being willing to just put it out there, even though you know it could be polished a bit more, honestly, you're going to go way further by just putting it out there than if you're just waiting until you've done another course and you've just fine-tuned things a bit more.
Yes, there's always another course or another book to read before you're ready to do it.
Yeah, well, I've met as a... Well, look, and I know when I started out in my second career as a coach, I did a psychology, I went back to college and did psychology, and then I went and did coaching training, and then I was sort of like, I have to do another coaching training, and I remember my husband just saying, well, just start your business. Don't, yes. And I meet people, it's like, well, then I got to do another coaching course and another coaching, and then this, and then this, and I'm like, you know what, you do not have to be the Dalai Lama of coaching before you can start a business and offer value. And that applies to anything. I'm just using coaching as an example there. I think we too often go, well, I have to be the Leonardo da Vinci or the Einstein or whatever it is. No, you don't. Just get out there and start doing it. You will learn as you go.
That's true. Always preparing, never quite getting it out there. And I could definitely say that it's about writing. Also, just kind of going over what I was doing and over it and over and over it. And thankfully, I was working with someone who would definitely tell me, okay, get it out there, it's done, and help me to stay on track, because I knew I just couldn't do it by myself, because I would just continue on and on and on. But it was very interesting because I spoke to someone recently about editing, and she was talking about someone we both know, and says, oh, her work is always written so well, and I know she doesn't need an editor. And I was like, no, every writer needs an editor. There's a lot of work that goes into making it look perfect, or, close to perfect. It doesn't just spring that way, but it's interesting because I guess a lot of people feel that, it comes out finished. And if they only saw what you have to go through to create that finished product, they probably wouldn't believe it because they think it just comes out of your brain that way, and it really doesn't. So it's kind of interesting. People's perceptions of what they think people have to go through, and then, of course, they may measure themselves as being less.
Well, and, you're absolutely right. It's funny. I'm doing a TV interview on this tomorrow, and I've got to prepare for it today, and exactly what you've said is exactly the things I'll be preparing myself around. It's all around making negative comparisons.
Yeah.
And, and I've written a lot on this idea of the imposter syndrome, and part of that is fueled by, we look at other people and go, oh, they've got it all together. Look at it's so easy for them. They just constantly just this. And yet, we have no idea. We're comparing our insides with their outsides. And we don't see the whole picture. We know our whole picture. We know that we lie in bed at night awake and we struggle with self-doubt and insecurity, and they don't seem to have any of those struggles. But the truth is we all have struggles. And we too often compare our weaknesses with others' strengths, our insides with their outsides, and we really do ourselves this massive disservice. And the truth is that everyone's got their own gifts, everyone's got their own struggles. We all have our own different crosses to bear, and I think we've got to be so careful when we start looking out there and doing these negative comparisons, so we can end up on this downward spiral really quickly of, oh, if only I was as smart or as organised or as clever or as witty as them. And, who knows who's sitting there looking at you thinking if only I was as creative or as generous or as, whatever it is. So
that's true. That's an excellent point. We do tend to compare people not really knowing what's behind the curtain. We just think we see the outside, and that's what we're judging. So that's an excellent point. So, as a coach, how do you work with your clients? When they may come to you with these things, how do you help them to come to these realizations?
Oh, look, and coaching is a conversation that you have. I mean, to me, I sit down and you have a conversations with people and you help them to sort of challenge what they say and challenge how they see things and help them to recognize where maybe they've been too hard on themselves, or maybe they have stories that they've created or that others have given them and they've just bought into that ultimately aren't the truth and that are limiting them and limiting what's possible for them in some way. And so I think it's just really, as a coach, to be in that place of inquiry, of curiosity, to have other people be in that place, to make it safe for people to say, yeah, maybe I've been holding on to this as a truth, as a story, as maybe a sense of victimhood, maybe blame or anger. And even with fear, because obviously a lot of work I do is around helping people move through their fears, helping them really get present to what is the worst thing that could happen, and to see that actually they could handle that, but also getting present to what's the cost of inaction. Because we often focus when we're looking at making a decision or a change, or we're faced with this thing we want to do and our fear that keeps us from stepping out, we often dwell on what we have to lose. Oh, if it goes wrong, I'll make a fool of myself. I could lose money, or I could lose safety, security, all these things. But we often don't fully get present to, and we discount the cost of inaction. Well, how will you feel a year from now, 10 years from now, if you do nothing? And we often downplay that cost of inaction. And so also I feel part of my role is getting people to be really honest with themselves about that cost of inaction. And we have a lot of cognitive biases so that we're not always good at assessing the cost of inaction. We know exactly what we don't want to feel in the short term, but in the longer term we often kind of just push that out, and we don't necessarily really get really present to it.
That's true, and I think also it's interesting because time goes by so fast, and sometimes it seems like it's just speeded up completely. And you look up, and a month has passed, and you're like, well, what are all those things I was supposed to do? And you just have more of a sense of time going by, and it's so easy to just say, I'll get to that, or one day when I know enough, or whatever the excuse is, and then you're kind of looking back and wondering, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I take this chance or take this risk, or why didn't I follow through with that? And you don't really want to be in that kind of position. You don't want to be in that spot where you're regretting that you didn't take that chance because you kept preparing.
Yeah, and and so many studies of people when they're in their final years of life, the biggest regret is not that they didn't have a bigger house or that they didn't earn more money. It is that they didn't take more risks, that they wished they had taken more risks. And at the time, it all seemed too hard, too scary, too young, too old. We've all got our reasons. But looking back, they go, I wished I had spoken up. I wished I had not stayed in that job. I wished I had left that situation. So I think that's a really we all need to do that. And I often encourage people, imagine yourself at 80 or 90, looking back on the intervening years from where you are now. You know, what is it? How do you want to measure success? And two, given the current trajectory you're on, what is it that you may one day look back on and go, oh, I wish I had done something differently?
Right.
And so, you know, for all of us, given your current trajectory, given the decisions you're making now, your default path, you know, where might that take you that one day you'll look back and go, I wish I'd done something differently?
That's true. I think that's a great thing for more people to do, because perhaps they would spend less time putting off everything or thinking they can't do it, and really being more serious about going after what it is that they feel so strongly about. You know, cause we get very busy on a lot of things that don't matter as much. I think so. It's easy to lose track of what really is important. We have about 3-4 minutes left. If you could please share with everyone where they can find you and find your books.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I have my own website, which is margieworrell.com, and I know my accent throws people out, so I'm sure that you'll be able to share it with the blog, but it's just my name, margieworrell.com. The book has its own book website, which is trainthebrave.com. And one thing I would love your listeners to do is, obviously, I'd love everyone to check out the book, but I created a 10-day Train the Brave challenge, which is every day for 10 days. You get an email in your inbox with a video from me, a message, really about different aspects of the book, whether it's on the second day I get people to do a visualization, you know, where do you want to be and what do you want to look back on, what do you want to accomplish in the rest of your life, and to really break that down into short-term goals. But to help people just look at, well, how could you be more courageous in your everyday life? And, you know, this concept of training the brave, in that courage is like a muscle. The more often we get outside our comfort zone, the more often we do something that scares us, even if it's just saying no to somebody or picking up the phone and inviting somebody out, the stronger we build our ability, our bravery to do more things in other areas of our life. So I'd love everyone to check out the Train the Brave Challenge. It's free with anyone who purchases a copy of Brave, which is on Amazon and all the online bookstores and in bookstores around the place. You can, if you can't find it, order it in, or just to sign up to my Live Bravely newsletter. And I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well.
Yeah, these days we have to be multiple.
The whole works.
Yes, that's for sure. There's definitely more things to update, more places to be, but that's also good because it's people are connected more than I think. I guess they have been ever. So there's good and there's challenging to the situation. So, you know, before we wrap up, I just want to know, is there any additional points you'd like to make as far as, you know, being brave and facing the fear?
Yeah, look, I would just ask everyone to, just ask yourself the question and just whatever answer comes up to mind, just trust that answer. But, you know, what would you do right now in your life, whether it's today, this week, this year, if you were being truly courageous? What is true for you, what feels right, and where are you settling or tolerating, putting up with a status quo that doesn't feed you, it doesn't inspire you? And you know, we all know intuitively, we have a sense of it. Sometimes we don't really want to face it because we know the answer is going to require us doing some big things, and they're hard. But on the flip side of that, how will it cost you if you don't? And so whether it's in your business and what you're doing or it's in other areas of your life, you know, truly knowing that when we are brave, we get more out of life. And the most successful people are people who are constantly getting outside their comfort zone and learning and growing and falling over and learning and growing. And I'd encourage everyone just to think, what can you do today that'll take you outside your comfort zone, and repeat again tomorrow.
And that's perfect. Thank you so much, Margie. I really appreciate you being here and sharing the information about your book and your coaching, and I certainly hope everyone listening will take advantage of the 10 days and check out the training and check out the books, and most definitely, you know, share this with others who will benefit from it, I'm sure. So thanks again for joining me, Margie. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Deb. Great speaking to you.